Okay, I'm live. Wait for a few people to trickle in here before I start talking about the big protests. All right. What's going on, Miss Donna Katz? Morning to you. Just like I say, just giving a few minutes for people to start trickling in. Mr. Gray. Ooh, Mr. Gray. Uh-oh. Mr. Gray. Hey, good afternoon, man. Have a good week. If I don't get to say hi again. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gray. You probably watched my stream before. Hey, Jake Belmore, what's going on? Good morning to you. Hope everyone had a great Canada Day weekend. I spent mine doing an auto control course. I won't even get into that. Oh my God. Oh, the authoritarians, the order followers that are part of the bureaucracy of government. And like that's the thing. Everyone looking to live off of socialism truly is the belief that we can all live off of each other. Like it's unbelievable how many people that want to work for the state in some capacity, and the minute they do, they get this fucking sniff of any sense of authority or power, and that goes straight to their fucking head. And a lot of them seem to be, there's something up there's got to fill that big void, because it sure hell isn't a tremendous amount of gray area that thinks critically about things, that's for sure. So I guess they got to fill their head with something, and predominantly propaganda. And wow, does Mothers Against Drunk Driving ever have a massive amount of propaganda? And I mean, boy, did I ever have to bite my tongue. It was a 3-day thing, Friday night, all day, and into Saturday night. What was it? From 9 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. And then basically half a day on Friday till lunch. All for what? To treat us all, because as if, anyways, like I said, I'm not even going to get into that. Let's talk about the protest. Forget about what happened on my weekend. Let's talk about what actually happened in the rest of Canada over the weekend, or at least in Ottawa in particular, the people that are supposedly out there standing up for rights, freedoms, and liberty. Now, some of them were. That's what I mean. That's the thing. When you talk about we, right? We love this, or this is what Canada there is no such thing as we, folks, because as you recognize, a lot of people disagree with each other in this country. So the we thing sounds good in theory, right? Not such a reflection of reality once you actually put it into practice. But there was a lot of people that had gone to the protest. There were yellow vesters, there were right-wingers, there were anti-globalists, lots of anti-globalists, lots of right-wingers, right? And even Tim Mullen, a libertarian, the leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada. And that was, to me, if I was going to be in Ottawa, that would have been the bright spot or the shining moment if I was going to participate in the protest and hear what Tim had to say. Now, I've listened to it subsequent in video form, but yeah, great job, Tim. And I've already told him anyways, but yeah, excellent job, Tim. And I recognize the uncomfortableness he must have experienced, trying to talk about anti-statism and what freedom and liberty entails to a bunch of statists that are pretending, for the most part, that they care about freedom and liberty as well. But in reality, they just want to have their own particular form of government, or they're fearful of external threats, but they love the threats that are close by, or like I say, the people that align with them politically. So a lot of Stockholm syndrome in Canada. Let's see what else we got here. Ava and you today. Good morning. Just say up yours. Good morning to you as well. Oh, there we go. Hey, Bennett, great to see you in this vid. Thank you very much. Ava, I believe it must be. Drunk drivers against mad mothers. Oh, it's unbelievable. Like I say, the propaganda and like I say, not even allowed to ask questions, speak out. Like I say, don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started on that. But like I say, I gotta play these fucking games in order to be able to get back to the point where I can, get my license back and all this shit. So you gotta jump through all the proverbial hoops and loops and play their little game with them, right? And of course, enrich them, right? They'll have to benefit themselves economically at your expense, and yet they try to pretend that it's exciting anyway. Like, oh, my heart goes out to all these people. But meanwhile, I love making other people suffer. If these people suffer, I've got the bleeding heart. Look at it's bleeding out. I just hate to see people suffer, right? But these people, oh yeah, I want to see them suffer bad. Let's get revenge. I mean, think about it. Have you ever watched a mad commercial, right? What does that elicit in you, right? Anger, right? That's what it does. I mean, a little sadness, but in reality, when they're showing a picture of that drunk that was just so reckless and irresponsible, and next thing they're showing cut to the scene with the flashing lights and the body bag, right? And the accident scene where there's someone dead and maybe some mother or sister all crying about. Cut to that scene. What kind of response do you think that elicits from people, right? Yeah, maybe a little bit of sadness for sure, but what that automatically turns into is fucking anger, right? And the old, oh yeah, let's get these motherfuckers. Oh, you caused harm to someone, and that's what that is. It's an emotional appeal not for you to shed a tear, but for you to support the kind of draconian or authoritarian measures or tactics they'll use towards anyone they fucking deem as being someone that doesn't obey their authority or their edicts. That's what it is. It's all about eliciting fear, eliciting the response of fear, which then turns around and translates itself into fucking anger, where you'll get on board with, yeah, let's go after these motherfuckers. Because like I say, I've experienced that the whole thing when I was going through the process, all the way from my original charge. And like I say, I was on an ATV, didn't fucking cause no harm to anyone, wasn't in no accident. But the whole thing is all about stirring up fear and pointing to anyone that has a drink or two. And like I say, on my ATV in the middle of the trail in rural New Brunswick, but Matt has got everybody perceiving anyone that has a drink or two and gets behind, or not behind the wheel, behind the handlebars of anything, right? Ooh, you must be wanting to kill people, just like the whole COVID narrative. Think of it; it's the same propagandist narrative. It's just let's use it for this. Well, wait, now we can translate that. Let's use it now. The new thing is COVID. Oh, if you don't mask up, if you don't fucking choose to put a muzzle on your fucking self, basically, right? Then you want to kill grandma, didn't you? Don't you? Same fucking goddamn narrative that MAD uses. And what does that do? It elicits anger. Listen to what people are how they're reacting. Oh, these motherfuckers. You don't want to wear a mask? Oh, you want to kill my grandma? Oh, that's it. Let's call up the fucking bylaw officers, right? Or the police officers. Yeah, let's lock these people up in a fucking cage. You won't do that? Well, come on. At the very least, can you throw them like $1,000 fine or something? Because man, I want to really punish these fucking people for not following orders, right? Or the edicts of my political masters. That's what it is at the end of the day. So, like I say, it's always about stirring up your emotions, your anger, a lot of times your resentment as well. That's the economic side of it, though, right? It's all about resentment. Anger and resentment are the go-to emotional responses that they want to elicit from you, right? That's what they want, so that you will align and conform to whatever the hell they tell you to do, because, we'll fix them fuckers up. Just do exactly what we say, right? But all that really does in the day is just create not just the division, but now that's what everyone's using that tactic towards each other, right? Cancel culture is happening on both the left and the right. Why? Because they recognize, hey, it's a tactic and it works, and it does, and people are using it. But who benefits at that? Once again, that's still that contribution to the race to the lowest common denominator, or the race to the bottom. And we're definitely fast approaching. I mean, I would think at least we must be getting fast approaching the bottom at this point in time. Anyways, like I say, let me see. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, let me get into the comments here, see if anyone else is in there. I guess not too many people in there today. Anyways, so first thing I'm going to cover, I guess, let's just see. It's an article of the Toronto Sun. I just wanted to kind of deal with it a little bit here. And I'll get to the Tim Mullen thing. Actually, let me deal with the Tim Mullen thing first, actually. Yeah, let's see. Actually, if I can pull up. Yeah, because it shouldn't have any. Yeah, it's Tim Mullen, so I won't have any issues in terms of playing this on the on here. So let me get see if I can't find that video. There it is. Canada Day speech. Beautiful. And it was an excellent speech, in case you haven't heard it, by the way.
And that is the leader.
All right, so let's share this bad boy. Why not? And yeah, thanks for nobody reminding me last time. Just kidding, but yeah, I forgot myself. So my bad, but no one reminded me to switch this bad boy over last time. I'm going to try to remember this time. Well, yeah, let's check out Tim Mullen's speech, because this, like I say, this is something that happened in Ottawa that definitely resonated with me. Share the screen. All right, make sure you folks can see it all right. Yeah, looks pretty good. I might actually put it in full screen once I actually get it started. Status Day. I see down there, Dominion Day, Canada Day, Status Day. All right, let's get this bad boy going. Yeah, because I got the audio. Got to remember the audio. Remember the audio. Switch it back. Okay, let's get this bad boy playing, like I say.
Of the Libertarian Party of Canada.
Yeah!
Tim Mullen. Give it up for Tim Mullen, ladies and gentlemen.
Go, Tim!
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Mark, for inviting me to this. It shows your commitment to free speech that you'll let me speak here today. So I really appreciate that. And is it just me, or is it really hot here? You know, my day job is I'm a firefighter, and I kind of feel like I'm in my turnout gear in a burning building right now. I got to keep fighting this fire. And normally I fight the mindlessly destructive force called fire and chaos, my day job. But today I'm here to fight this mindlessly destructive force, government. And so thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Now, I was a little worried that the term libertarian might turn some of you off. We always get confused with the liberals. And the way I describe it to people is liberty is the root word in the name libertarian, and lie is the root word in the name liberal. We're the exact opposite. Okay, so don't get the two twisted. Don't get us confused. And I'm here in part because Mark invited me, but I'm also here because a sleeping giant is waking up right now. Am I right? Yeah. That warms the cockles of my heart. You guys might know me as the guy in 2015 when I ran for Prime Minister who popularized the phrase, "I want gay married couples to protect their marijuana plants with guns." I'm upgrading that to AR-15s now, by the way. And by the way, Dan Dix, I give all the gratitude to him. He was the first, there he is. He was the first guy to interview me. Mainstream media wouldn't touch me. Dan Dix, Press for Truth, has been on the front lines forever, and I'm very grateful to him for that and for giving me that opportunity. That led to the Rebel News picking me up, and that led to other things. And the mainstream media picking me up and spreading fake news about me, which I also appreciated. So that's why I'm here. I'm here because you guys have been deemed non-essential.
Let me just say that I, too, am very much appreciative of Dan Dix and all that he's done and said over the years. And he's been a help to me early on as well. So thank you. If you get a chance to watch this video, Dan Dix, I applaud and appreciate your efforts as well.
You've had your livelihoods destroyed. You can't pay your bills or keep your lights on. And that's true of many Canadians right now. The government's taken away your ability to put nutritious food on your family's table. They made it nearly impossible to save up for your old age. They basically prohibited you from accessing all the things that lead to a long, healthy, happy life. So how's that for public health? Sucks, doesn't it? Now all this is all going on. The central banks are robbing your buying power.
I notice official blasphemy here. Yeah, I trust me. I hear you, and I don't hear you. I see what you're typing there. And yes, I'm with you. I understand. And that's why I keep constantly, not just for myself in terms of getting the message out there, but yeah, I mean, even if those people, like I keep saying, listen, if you know someone that's more effective, or you just have a personality conflict with me, because that happens. Like I say, we're not all going to like each other personally. I'm not asking you folks to fucking come live with me or fucking hang out with me or anything like that. Although, trust me, I think you would really love that, to be honest with you. But really what it comes down to at the end of the day is showing unity and solidarity with the messaging. And those who are most vocal and competent advocates of the message, right? Because that's the thing. There are levels of competency in terms of people's capacity, intellectual capacity, or even their ability to have, the way to, or the courage to articulate this kind of message. So, like I say, if you don't want to share or spread my video stuff around, help Tim Mullen out. I do this all the time. And I don't do it for any, economic reward. I do it because, to me, like, I recognize it's the right thing to do. So I'm with Official here. Help, hey, like I say, if you got to hate on me, which lots of Canadians do, I get it, because I'm just too truthful for them. And I don't put any political spin on it. And I don't try to play like the Mr. I'm such a nice guy, because, oh God, that just seems so lame to me. Right? But whatever it takes, whatever the hell it takes. And Tim Mullen, like I say, I think he does a better job in some aspects, in some way, than even I do in terms of talk about libertarian values. Support him. Because, yeah, just like with official blasphemy here, like, what the hell? The people that are the most staunch advocates and defenders of freedom and liberty have the fucking lowest amount of people who are paying attention or listening to their voices or their channels or the likes on their social media pages. It's the statists are dominating, right? They're dominating. They're taking, like I say, the people, the true liberty leaders have now been placed on the back burner, and the statists have taken center stage. And the statists are like, oh no, pay attention to us. And you know what? Statism is all about the collective and playing up this in-group preference thing, right? So yeah, it'll cater to and appeal to people's tribalist instincts. But once again, we don't live in a country with just one tribe. There's a whole bunch of people who are different, of opposing tribes, or who don't belong to any particular tribe, right? So, especially when you're talking about politics. And you're going to have to live in that country where there's all these different people, but everyone wants to play the game where, like, what? The right-wingers are they're going to dominate, and it's all going to be right-wing stuff for now into eternity, and forget about what everyone else wants, right? No. Same with the lefties. They want to be able to fucking mold or shape Canadian society to the image of what they want to have or see or make Canada be, right? So, and like I say, there's people like myself, people like Tim Mullen are like, listen, I just want us all to function under fucking genuine rules of engagement, social or economic engagements, where we respect each other's autonomy, sovereignty, and we don't use preemptive force, violence, coercion, and theft towards each other. How about that as a ground-based starting point? But like I say, all the statists are like, I'm sorry, I can't agree with that, because I like to use the state to impose my edicts on my opponents. Same, like I say, whether it's the right or left, they're constantly wanting to point the proverbial gun at each other. Libertarians are like, hey, listen. You can both have your guns. Just can you at least, for now, if we're going to have anything that's remotely resembling a cooperative society, can you stop pointing them at each other? Let's have a talk, right? And if we're going to have a talk, let's talk about the rules of engagement here. If we're going to live amongst each other, but like, no one wants to do that yet. Nobody in Canada, or very few people in Canada, are willing to sit down and have the conversations. They just want to, like I say, play up the tribalism, right? The politics of the team sport, right? So, yeah, I don't know, but it is a shame. And I definitely recommend that people, Tim Mullen, Liberty Journey, go to his YouTube page. Him and David put out great videos, excellent videos, folks. And yeah, like Official Blasphemy saying, yeah, like get like 5 likes on his video. And I truly do find that absolutely fucking disgusting. I find it disgusting that Canadians are more than willing to support status and completely unwilling to truly support the ones that are the ones that you can truly trust and have no pretense or wish to have authority over you, right? The rest of the status, they want authority over you. They want to control and dictate your life. Now, you might agree with how they want to dictate your life, but you don't speak for every Canadian, right? Whereas Tim Mullen or someone like myself, like, no, I'm not looking to dictate your life, her life, his life, their life, whatever, right? No, like I say, we just want us all to function under decent rules of engagement when we're out dealing with each other socially or economically. That's, like I say, pretty basic stuff. But yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Anyways, back to, oh, I forgot to flip the thing. But anyways, I'll remember that for when it's done. So let me finish playing this here. Because, yeah, that stuff bothers me too.
By printing up limitless money to bail out banks and giant politically connected corporations. These are the same corporations that are getting all your customers now that your small and medium-sized business has been obliterated. These are the same banks that are getting a deed to your house and land when you can't pay the mortgage because your ability to make a living has been obliterated. What we are witnessing right now, ladies and gentlemen, here today is an unprecedented wealth transfer from you, the working classes, to the elites, to the oligarchs, to the SNC Lavallins of the world, to all those who are connected to political power. At the same time, we're seeing an unprecedented wealth transfer from us to them. We're seeing an unprecedented power transfer from the people to the government. Now, if you think they're just going to hand us back our freedoms, you've got another thing coming. The income tax was implemented as a temporary tax to pay for World War I. We all now accept it as part of the new normal, right? This is talking about ending the income tax other than us crazy libertarians. As Thomas Sowell once said, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. And the irony here, folks, is that this is all done to protect your life and save your life. Do you guys feel protected? Yeah, I didn't think so. Oh, by the way, they're sending you the bill for all this. Of course. That's right, they've broken your legs, and now they're giving you these feeble crutches in the form of CERB checks. And they're expecting a big thank you in return. Who do you think's going to pay for this? Every working class Canadian. That's who. Everyone here who pays taxes, and not just the people that pay taxes. That's the immediate, obvious thing. Every Canadian is going to pay this through the invisible tax called inflation. 2 years from now, when you're paying twice as much for groceries, but you're making the same income, that's going to be you paying for what's happening right now. They're robbing our buying power. That is as much a robbing of your wealth as a tax is. So, ladies and gentlemen, consider yourself indentured servants. Your children and your grandchildren will not be inheriting your wealth. That's going to the elites. Instead, your children and grandchildren will be inheriting perpetual servitude to your masters. Now, I haven't heard a single peep about this from the official opposition. Has anyone opposed from the CPC opposed this lockdown?
Exactly. That's one of the most, and you folks know, right? And Tim knows it as well. That's one of the most important things that I want Canadians to seriously start thinking about is the economic enslavement of not just the Canadians that are alive today, which is already massively immoral and unethical, but the economic enslavement of future and successive generations. It's bad enough that people use preemptive violence all the time towards children, but to do it in a manner through the political means to economically enslave them and give them such a disadvantage in life before they've even had the opportunity to fucking do anything as an adult, you've already economically enslaved them, and lots of Canadians will go and buy them fucking Canadian bonds up, right? And all you're doing is, like I say, you are supporting a system that looks to economically enslave entire generations of people. And to me, it's, yes, I'm not hearing anybody talking about this shit. All I keep hearing constantly, even a lot of the people that were at these protests, like and the PBC folk, it's all seems to be about defeating Trudeau and globalism, right? And not worrying the slightest fucking bit about the actual economic or social policies that is just part and parcel of the ruling class in this country. Because, like I say, millions and millions of people in this country benefit tremendously from this rampant forced wealth and income redistribution. But like I say, most of those people, whether they come from the right or the left, mum's the fucking word the minute you bring that up. Why? Because they recognize that, their own moral failures, well, they'd have to own up to them the minute you engage in the conversation, which is why, like I say, people like me and Tim, have few people that'll even sit down and have a good fucking honest discussion with us. You know, it won't happen. Why? Because like I say, the minute they recognize that I'm going to hold them to a decent moral or ethical standard, they're going to realize they're not going to have anything to offer as a counter narrative under the fact that, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, because that's exactly it. But nobody wants to own up to the fact of their own failures. They like to point the finger at everybody else. It's always somebody else's fault. For the right wingers, it's always the left. For the left wingers, it's always the right. Neither fucking side, like I say, wants to own up to the fact they both sides have contributed to the social and economic demise of our liberties for decades. For decades. Well, basically since the inception of this country. But most importantly, for those of us who are alive today, in particular, every sense is and especially, you know, for the last 50 years or so, right? It's been nonstop downhill where people have at once, and I mean, like I say, this has been discussed and talked about so many times. Once people realize that they can vote to take away not just other people's things, their stuff or their prosperity, but their liberties as well. Well, and they just have to use the power of numbers. Well, that's what's been taking place. The left wins sometime and they take away the freedoms from their opponents. The right wing wins from time to time and they seek to take away some of the liberties from their opponents. At the end of the day, both sides contribute to, once again, that race to the bottom where neither side and none of us end up with any rights, freedom, or liberties, but we got all kinds of pretense of safety and security that government's going to coddle us from cradle to grave. But once again, even that is a complete and absolute farce. Anyways, play this split. Play on, player.
Down at all. No. The truth is, actually, we've been indentured servants for a long time. Yep. Canada, at all levels of government, is currently on the hook for $4.1 trillion in unfunded liabilities. That's $250,000 that you got to pay for each taxpayer. I don't remember consenting to this. That number's going up, by the way, likely to closer to $5 trillion thanks to this lockdown. I don't ever remember consenting to this. I mean, I can't rack up a bunch of debt and then make you guys pay for it. In fact, if any one of us behaved like the government's behaving, we'd rightfully be locked in jail right now. If you try central banking, you'll be locked away for counterfeiting money. If you try taxing someone, you'll get locked away for armed robbery, and rightfully so. If you issue a fine to someone for their speech, you'll also be charged with armed robbery. If you try to ban guns, you'll be charged with uttering threats and be locked away. If in the process of confiscating guns, you have to shoot a resistant gun owner, you'll be charged with murder. We would rightfully be charged with criminals, yet the government can do this and get away with it and never be charged.
Because by special
a lot of
powers,
people actually thank them for engaging in this criminality and applaud it. Now, as a libertarian, I believe the proper role of government is to protect the individual from trespass, theft, assault, rape, and murder, from aggression. In theory, we delegate this right to the government, yet whenever we defend ourselves from criminals, we're charged by our very own government. Ian Thomas, Frank Meseros, Edward Maurice in Alberta. These are just 3 individuals in a long list of people whose lives have been ruined by persecution from our legal system for the crime of...
By the way, for the true libertarians that might be in the stream, Tim very much knows that you can't delegate an authority that you don't have onto someone else. So no, Tim has no cognitive dissonance there or any small case of Stockholm syndrome. But you got to remember who Tim Mullen is trying to reach out and appeal to, right? Mostly a lot of status, and definitely most people in this audience are going to be a lot lower down in terms of their knowledge or understanding what it is to be free or what government even entails or if it's even legitimate. Talk to most Canadians. You'll realize most Canadians are heavily indoctrinated into the faith or the cult of statism, and they believe in government. They're big believers, right? You ever seen that South Park episode with Butters on his knees? Yes, Mr. Government. Yeah, that is literally the representation of most Canadians, the overwhelming majority of Canadians, with only a very, very tiny sliver of people such as Tim and myself, and probably a couple of you folks in the chat that actually understand that no, there's no such thing as having a legitimate ruler. It's just like there's no such thing as having a legitimate master, right? They can't exist, right? Slavery is not a legitimate, like humans are not legitimately owned by other human beings, whether you call it slavery or whether you call it government, right? Anyways, back to
defending their property with a gun. And now we have Trudeau and his posse arbitrarily banning guns that look a certain way and make them feel icky. He's doing this from his castle while he has Parliament here shut down. Boy, oh boy, he wasn't kidding when he said he admired China's basic dictatorship, did he?
Yeah. Nope.
Ladies and gentlemen, I propose to you that the battle lines are not left versus right. Both the right and the left have betrayed us and stripped us of our liberties, our sovereignty, our wealth. I would even put to you that the battle isn't really between globalism and nationalism. There are some nationalists who want to put a jackboot on our...
You notice that, huh? When he said that, do you hear? There's got to be a few people there, right? Quite a few more than just a couple. But you notice when he said that it's not left versus right, only a couple people, which, if I was standing in that audience, I would be one of those couple. But it's like, oh, is it just us couple that agrees with this? While the rest of them around there, no, it's the left wingers, man. Us right wingers are the best, man. That's based, and that's a representation of every experience I've ever had, not just in my personal life, but online as well. Is you might find the odd individual who actually has a firm grasp or understanding of liberty entails, although they've had to go on quite a long intellectual journey to get to that point, just like myself. Whereas the rest of Canadians, too lazy to even try to adopt that kind of information or be that informed. No, most of them just go by tribalism, in-group preferences, and I must pick one or the other. I'm either left or right, right? So that is a reality. So it's not just representation of the response here, but it's a representation of basically almost every interaction you're ever going to undertake or engage with in Canada these days, which is a sad reality.
Not just like the globalists do. I don't think none of the nationalists here do, but there are some out there. The real political battle I would put to you, ladies and gentlemen, is between...
Which is akin to, if you ever watched the Jones Plantation, I've shared that a few times, and maybe I'll think, if I can remember, I'll put that in the link of this stream as well. If Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones are the master on the plantation, most people in Canada these days say, no, we want Mr. Smith, right? And then a substantial portion of the other half of the population, no, we want Mr. Jones, right? Oh, Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones. Like I say, me or Tim, we're standing over here like, guys, by the way, you don't need to be a slave, nor do you need a master, whether it's Mr. Jones or Mr. Smith. Here's an idea. Maybe you should be a free human being and not seek to have a master in the first place. But most people, the minute you tell them that, they're like, shut up, Bennett, or shut up, Tim. Leave me the hell alone. Leave me to stew in my conformity or my Stockholm syndrome, right? Like that. And it's a weird old world we're living in today, because that is an actual reflection of reality. Sadly.
Authoritarians and libertarians. The authoritarians want the government to impose their agenda on you. The libertarians just want to be left the hell alone.
Leave me the hell alone. Don't tread on me.
Now, there are enemies of liberty on both the right and the left, and there are also good people as well. Are they libertarian or are they authoritarian? That's how you know the line between good and bad. All right? And that, my friends, is where the real battle is. That's why you're all here today. You're not here for a government handout. You're not here to demand the government do something. You're here to demand that the government leave us the hell alone. All right. So I want to leave you with this. How do we do that? How do we get the government to leave us alone? Well, first we have to identify the problem. Now, this might not be a popular thing to say, but I would argue that the root of the problem is not Justin Trudeau. Now, in reality, he's just a perpetual frat boy living his best life. I can't even be mad at the kid. Congrats on all your success. He didn't seize power in a military coup, did he? Here's the uncomfortable fact, ladies and gentlemen. He was chosen by our countrymen to run this country.
That's right.
Let me repeat that so you didn't miss it. He was chosen by your countrymen, your neighbors, to run this country. Now, if that doesn't send a chill down your spine, I don't know what will. The truth is, and it's sad to say that because this crowd is the exception, but most of your countrymen don't want liberty. They want the government. They want a government that benefits them at your expense. They're authoritarians. And so Andrew Breitbart was right. Government is downstream from culture. Unfortunately, until we have a culture that embraces liberty, we will not see the kind of Canada that you and I want to see. Now, I wish the task ahead of us was as easy as voting for me or Maxime Bernier or another party. And don't get me wrong, I want your vote. But voting isn't going to change culture. The only thing that will change culture is you creating more libertarians. And it's a grind. It might be a multi-generational grind, as Dan Dix pointed out. It might be a long grind. It's work. There's no easy answer. You can't get away, ladies and gentlemen, with just going to the voting booth and thinking that your job is done and that you've done something productive. If you want to be part of changing culture, you have to be able to persuade authoritarians, your neighbors, to become libertarians, to be people that embrace liberty rather than authoritarianism. That when they feel afraid, they don't go begging the government to save them from their own fear and anxiety. The most effective way to do this, in my mind, and I appreciated that some of the other speakers touched on the same thing, is to hate the sin but love the sinner. We cannot hate our fellow Canadians just because they're possessed by a bad ideology, all right? And so we can't call people names like libtard and snowflake and expect to make any progress. In fact, that's a strategy for losing and sabotaging your own cause, in my opinion. What we need to do is study. We need to get good at rational debate. We need to debate ideas. We need to learn to connect with people's concern and show them how liberty addresses that concern. You're worried about climate catastrophe? Here's how we can solve that without communism and without carbon taxes. Are you worried about a migrant crisis? Here's how we can solve that problem with less government rather than more government. Are you worried about gun violence or drug abuse? Here's how liberty helps that problem. That's what we have to do. We have to create more liberties by connecting with people. Now, if this isn't in your wheelhouse, you can support those of us that are. Myself, all the speakers here today, plenty of people out there in the audience. More and more people are waking up to the corruption we're seeing in the system, and there's never been a better time to connect people to the message of liberty. This crowd is an example of that. And guys, as Canadians, we are a diverse group of people across this nation, and we're all unified under one nation. That unity is under threat right now. The bigger government grows, the more divided we become. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. We can all live together in peace, prosperity, and collaboration, but we can only do this on a foundation of liberty. Mr. Trudeau, tear down that wall. Thank you.
Good job. All right. All right, so yeah, excellent speech. Actually, Tim had another whole paragraph in there, but he skipped over that one. But like, I think the speech was actually great. I think it should have appealed, or it sounds like it probably appealed to a tremendous amount of people, except, like I say, once you get into the left versus right, then you get a little cognitive dissonance there, right? That's bound to happen, though, right? People that have been indoctrinated into the faith, into the cult, yeah, they're going to have that kind of experience. So that is to be expected. But I, like I say, really glad to see that Tim was there making the speech and doing his thing to stand up for liberty. So let's see what else we got here going on in the old chat. Oh, by the way, what's going on, Leo? Nice to see you in the stream there, buddy. Everybody has their head in the sand hoping this will go away. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they hope it's going to necessarily go away, but they sure do hope that their team will win and they'll be able to fucking get their revenge, retaliation, right? And be able to poke their finger in the eye of their opponent. But once again, all this constant poking each other in the eye just leaves us all blind, right? That's the issue. That's the issue, right? Whereas if you had the big boys and girls at the table, right, setting the terms of engagement and actually, you know, being properly articulating, explaining things, like it's just all about, like I say, it's just rules of engagement here, folks. Pretty simple stuff, right? But like I say, that's not happening. That's not taking place. And, you know, maybe someday it will. Matter of fact, I expect, and now I'm not too worried about it happening anytime soon, because I think statism is actually on the increase right now. I actually believe statism is on the increase because of the political divisiveness. People are running to their political tribes, their prospective political corners. And like I say, even people that normally wouldn't be active politically or apolitical in nature are now, like I say, so statism is actually on the rise. Not so much liberty, but I think eventually, in due time, I think both sides are going to get sick and tired of the constant fighting, bickering, and degradations to all of their liberties. Well, maybe eventually they'll come around someday and realize and recognize that, oh, it's the libertarians. Yeah, maybe we should be listening to these folks, because not only these folks have the philosophy down pat and what government is, the full concept and grasp and understanding what government is all about, but actually they have the entire recipe basically for success to get out from underneath this kind of indentured servitude or forced subjugation. But like I say, until that happens, well, they're just going to keep fighting each other over who's going to maintain or take over the state. That's all that's happening these days. So whoever wins, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care, because a jackboot, whether it's blue or red, it's still a jackboot as far as I'm concerned, right? The NSA has thousands of corporate clients. Perhaps all Five Eyes countries have to pay them. Yeah. I don't doubt for a minute, not just the NSA, but the CSIS, the Five Eyes. You can rest assured that, who knows, maybe even one or so of them in the comments or the chat today is one of these guys. I know they try to keep tabs on me. He's probably keep tabs on anybody that's talking about anything, because, not allowed to say anything that might challenge their authority. And if they are, they got to be, got to have rats and spies and informants out there. Hey, somebody's out there saying something bad about my government, right? So, right? Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, I'm with you, Rift Bear. Yep, Tim is the best so far. Like, out of all the libertarians in Canada that I know personally or am aware of, yeah, Tim Mullen is he's the man for the job. Yeah, he's excellent. He's very principled, and definitely, when I think about who else could possibly be a better leader for the Libertarian Party of Canada, I just can't think of anyone on the top of my head. And not to sell, obviously there's some great Canadians and great libertarians in Canada, but not to sell anyone short. But yeah, I agree. Tim is an awesome leader for the Libertarian Party of Canada. Withdrawing the rest of well, yeah, what took you so long? Anyways, no, it's just kidding. But yeah, definitely wise thing to do. I don't know, like I say, taxation is extortion. Yeah, sure. I'm whether you call it theft or extortion, it's good. I'm good with either one, right? I'm not going to play semantics or bicker or argue with someone. Taxation is extortion or theft. Works either way for me. Political parties are on one team with different colored banners to give people the illusion of change. So true, CC. So true. And people keep falling for it. That's the crazy part. I don't understand how it. Well, yeah, I do understand, because political propaganda is so prevalent these days that it's hard for people to even get time to even think about these issues critically, because there's always someone chirping their fucking ear to keep them in line, right, and not thinking critically about the issues. But yeah, it's so true, CC. And I mean, like I say, we have to break free from that goddamn paradigm if we're ever going to get out from underneath the, like I say, being beholden to Master Jones or Master Smith. Like, it's the only change from a new party is less freedoms and more benefits to corporations. Well, depends, right? I mean, obviously the Libertarian Party of Canada definitely wouldn't be doing any of that. That's why you need an actual, like, basically an anarchist or a full-on libertarian that fully understands, the illegitimacy of government. Not that a libertarian is like going to take away my government tomorrow, right? Not that Tim's going to get rid of your government. You know, lots of Canadians will still be able to suckle on the tit, but at the very least, you want the guy that recognizes that, no, I'm not beholden to Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones. I'm not a slave, subject, or serf to either of these people who claim authority or ownership of me, right? You need someone that at least has that kind of mindset, right? Because if there's anything, if they're lacking in anywhere of their intellect or their philosophy, and they actually believe that they should be beholden to a ruling class, that's not the kind of person that you want to be in charge of liberty type movements, right? Because I'll usually backfire on you, and has done so many times. And the European landscape is dotted with lots of mass graves and burial sites that acknowledge that reality. So yeah, like I say, be careful who you choose to support. Not everyone is truly standing in defense of your liberties entirely. Maybe if you agree with them, but not so much if you don't. So keep that in mind. That's like what I always try to think about. Okay, we are like fish swimming left to right in a canal ever narrowing from loss. Yeah, exactly. To the point where it's just going to we're just going to just keep swimming, or shouldn't say we. Like I say, I'm the one that I found a knot. Right? What's this? Left to right in a canal. Or actually, no, I found a little sublet portion of the stream, and I've taken my own direction. But you're right. Most of the fish, right, are traveling in their schools, all in uniformity and behind each other, and as a school, right, all as a collective, and they're all going to get piled up and wedged up behind each other, right, once they get to the point where there's nowhere left. They're all walking basically into a trap. But you really should, like Official Blasphemy or a couple other people have pointed, you might want to find another direction, or at least if you see that you can't help change the direction of the rest of your peers or the rest of the fish, then you might want to do something yourself, because following them off the edge of the cliff, well, that just, it's not going to work out good for you either, right? What's going on, Gato? Fuck. Why is one comment being constantly repeated like I'm saying it over and over? Weird. I have no idea, but I know lots of crazy stuff happens online these days, so I just give up questioning it. Citizens versus globalists. Yeah. Well, but the way the narrative is mostly presented today by the left and the right, or people who are advocating for, getting rid of this globalist push or globalization, are people who are just more nationalists. And that was what Tim was even alluding to. Well, he suggested it even in that the speech is, it's the right wingers today. They want their own form of statism. Just they don't want it to come externally. They want to have their particular brand of authoritarianism done and kept closer to their heart, right? That's which makes sense for the conservative types. But once again, it's not going to do much good in terms of giving us our freedoms. At the end of the day, it's individuals versus authoritarians, or libertarians versus authoritarians. That's the true divide, is what I would suggest. The education system doesn't teach individual thought or critical thought. It's a group think mentality. It's an indoctrination. Yes, it sure is. Oh yeah, I knew that. Even, and it's gotten much worse. But even when I was a kid, just try to challenge or question their authority or how they want things done, and you find out that it's not about teaching you how to think. It's about teaching you what to think, and that is indoctrination. That's not education, as you're suggesting, CC. I disagree with Tim. We did not choose Trudeau. He is a minority government. He is imposed on us by a small minority. But see, that's the thing, Gato. When you say we, yes, you're talking about Canada, right? As a population of people. That's the problem. And everyone has this issue. But that's what democracy is, folks. That's holy Christ. And even, like I say, even people like Gato here, like nothing against Gato, obviously, right? But I mean, this is the issue, and you're going to have this issue time and time again. You're going to have that cognitive dissonance until you break free from that collective mindset, right? You're always going to have this same fucking issue. It's just going to keep popping up in your mind over and over again. You've got to really get yourself to the point when you're talking about he's absolutely right. And he actually articulated properly. So you chose to hear in a way that I guess that suited how you wanted to respond. Because if you listen to what he said, Gato, he said, it's your fellow peers, your fellow Canadians. And yeah, it's your neighbors. It's all those people in your family that work for government. Yeah, they voted for Trudeau. They did, right? Your aunts, your uncles, right? Your nieces, your nephews, your sisters, maybe some of your brothers, like your neighbors. I mean, yes, they did. They voted for Trudeau. And they knowing that, well, that's the thing. A lot of it happens through ignorance because politics is all about keeping you ill-informed and ignorant to facts or reality. And it's all about appealing to your emotions, right? Like I said before, right? Resentment, fear and resentment. It's all about the politics of fear and resentment. That's an identity politics these days, which is what they use to create they use the fear and resentment combined with identity politics. That keeps us all divisive and divided amongst each other. So the left, which would be most people, but even right-wingers that normally identify as conservative, but don't want to see government shrink because my health care, my socialized health care, or, my military, or not military spend, because Trudeau is not much good for that, but my retirement, my government pension, my gold-plated public sector pension, well, whichever party decides that they're going to maintain and support that. And the Trudeau Liberals definitely all about maintaining big government. So even conservatives will be like, yeah, we want to keep this guy in power. As long as he's going to keep my check, keep that check coming in that I've been getting at the expense of other people. Because it's not because the government saved it up in a bank account for me and it's just sitting there, right, to be doled out. No, it's all forced wealth and income redistribution in people because they all have to function. And it's like, well, I want to get mine, right? So yeah, he is a minority government, but the minority, that's the thing with minority, all he has to do is get one party, right? One party and NDP. So, and even if he doesn't get the support of all these other parties, like you say, well, a minority government can be easily toppled just like that by the opposition. Has the opposition toppled, right, the Trudeau government? Not so far, right? Not even after all the reckless spending, all the ethics violations, the lockdowns, the unconstitutional and arbitrary mandates imposed on the Canadian people, the businesses shuttered and closed, the millions of people, the countless thousands or tens of thousands of people who have not been able to get their surgeries or have had them postponed indefinitely because is anyone standing up for the Canadian people? None of these political parties are. So, which suggests that there's not much pressure on it to change the status quo or the current system. And why that is because a lot of your fellow Canadians a lot of your fellow Canadians, and like I've said a gazillion times before, benefit tremendously at your expense and my expense. I mean, even yourself, I'm sure you recognize, because I believe you said, and I'm not sure if it's in a private, but if you work, even like I say, even in, it's not the political realm, but if you work for the public sector, even if you think, well, yeah, but this has nothing to do with government, I'm just a scientist, or, well, you need that government funding, right? So would you ever vote for anything that might cause harm to your economic bottom line or your future prospects in terms of occupation or employment? No, you're not going to do it either. Even you, and you're much more principled, I would suggest, at least, or I believe you're more principled than most Canadians. So it really comes down to incentive at the end of the day. And the current structure has incentivized people to be status, whether they like it or not. And they're following through because, like I say, they're incentivized to do so. And yes, Canadians definitely want to economically and socially enslave each other. That's what they do. It's just that they don't believe that that their side is doing it. It's always the other guy. That's what I mean. That's how they keep us divided. It's always the other guy. It's always the left, right? According to the right. According to the left, it's always the right. So, pick your poison and or pick your side and I guess make your argument from that point. But like I say, the libertarians are the only ones telling you the truth, that it's both sides, and a whole lot of people that you might want to have an uncomfortable conversation with, because the minute you do, Test the hypothesis out and ask some people in your family that if they be honest with you, if they voted for Trudeau Liberal, and you'll realize that, yeah, they did that knowing that it would cause harm to you or future success of generations. But anyways, it is what it is. Just 7 years prior to, over 50% of the population was farming. Nowadays, it's less than 1%. Yeah. What about Norman Travesty? Yeah, wasn't that the guy that put on the big event? I don't know much about the guy. If he's not a libertarian, if he doesn't actually understand or promote genuine liberty, if he just another left-right politician or advocate for the left-right paradigm, don't really care who he is, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's designed to be mob rules. Minority or majority, still mob rule. Exactly. That's the thing, right? Doesn't even matter if you're ruled over by a minority or majority, right? Whether there's 10 people or one person, right? I just say we don't need rulers. And I just say that rulers are illegitimate. That's the thing. It's always about playing games, a number game, minority, majority, without anyone actually talking about what really needs to take place. And that's to stop believing in rulers in the first place. That's what needs to take place. But yeah, keep playing along those left-right divide lines and narratives, and I'm sure that'll get us somewhere, right? Starting to believe the last election was rigged. It was called as soon as the GTA votes were counted. Well, it must have been rigged, right? It couldn't be that just fellow Canadians are, like I say, incentivized to do exactly what they've done. No, it couldn't be that. Yes, Ben, there are two political parties pushing back against the COVID, and that is the BQ and CAQ. Also, I work in the private sector. I don't. Okay. Oh, okay. Good. Well, yeah, that's good to know. Actually, glad I know that. Glad to know that, because that's the thing. It's hard to know if you work in any field in Canada these days, right? Unless it's in the construction field, most of the time you're working for government. Government has taken over so many segments of the economy in Canada that. Sorry, I apologize, but it's hard to know. But it's because I think you're in a minority these days if you're not directly or indirectly subsidized or paid for by big government in this country. So. But I'm glad that you're in the private sector. That's awesome. But in terms of the CAQ, I noticed how the both political parties pushing back against the COVID and all that are BQ and C. But are they saying that taxation is theft, though? Right? Because I don't really give a shit if I can agree with someone. Like, just because I could agree with think about it. If Hitler was alive today and he was saying that fucking Stalin's a piece of shit or whatever, I'd probably agree with Hitler that Stalin's a piece of shit or Mao's a piece of shit, maybe, or something, right? But just because I can agree with that person on that particular thing doesn't mean that they're a good person that I should align or support them, right? No, because like I say, the CAQ, just like every political party in this country, with the exception of Tim Mullen and the Libertarian Party of Canada, advocate for forced subjugation and basically a modern form of indentured servitude. Basically forced wealth and income redistribution. And it's the wealth that the state takes, whether it's the provincial, state, or the federal state, or even your local. It's that forced wealth and income redistribution that fills up their coffers and gives them the ability to use that as a means to further economically enslave you by paying off their enforcers and order followers. So taxation is theft. And unless you're talking about these parties that advocate for the abolition of taxes in this country, or the rampant forced wealth redistribution, then they're just more status. Just status that, once again, I might agree with in a particular one-off subject matter or topic, but status at the end of the day, which once again would still look to socially and economically enslave me, but just in a different manner based on their edicts and their whims. So I don't know. You seem very beholden to parties, and I don't know. I get it. Like, even as much as like I say about the Libertarian Party and Tim Mullen, it's not even that I'm a big fan or staunch advocate of the party. I'm an advocate of the ideas and what Tim Mullen stands for. Because to me, it's the ideas that matter at the end of the day. And that's what the Libertarian Party in Canada is for, is let's get the ideas out there. And that is the way to do it in the political realm. Because once again, and Tim has actually said this, and I think I've even alluded to it before, is even though politics is the antithesis to those of us who are non-statists and don't believe or conform in the ideology of the state. But just like if you were trying to, teach people about atheists, right? Well, if a preacher in a religious institution invites you to their pulpit, well, probably might be a good idea, even though you recognize a lot of these people are ideologues and deeply entrenched in whatever religious teaching that they've been privy to for most of their life. Well, if you want to teach atheism, well, that's probably a pretty good place to start, because those are the people, especially if they invite you to do it. So that's what I mean. What the bully pulpit or what the political pulpit does in conjunction, in combination with the media does in this country, just like with Ron Paul and his run for presidency, or even the Libertarian Party in the US, is you get access to the minds of the masses, to the minions. And really that's what's most of paramount importance is gaining access to the minds of the masses and the minions. Because if you want to affect their mind or their psychology properly and start understanding and thinking critically about what it is to be free, that's where you need to start. You need to reach out to the people who are beholden or indoctrinated or conformist to the state-driven ideology. So anyways, let me get back to... But once again, I'm not... Anyways, just... I don't know. It takes everyone a certain amount of time to break free from the cognitive dissonance and not to have that Stockholm syndrome. It'll take time, but it'll happen, or it won't. Some people just won't. Some people you just can't. They're just so enamored with it, right? And they're so fearful of that, the uncomfortableness of the truth, and realizing that their old world paradigms were built on mysticism and lies, and they don't want to see that tear down, because they might not have something to replace it with, right? Brent, I can see how you come to the conclusion given ideals like the non-aggression principle. Most of us do see it as an innate understanding. Brent, I'm not sure what that was here, but anyways, what are we at? An hour? Probably, like I say, probably give it to an hour and a half, and then I'll probably tie this up. But there was actually an article I want to read. Actually, let me get to that article here. One sec here. Definitely no government is going to fix the problem. It's all up here, right? The best way to use your vote is on a good opposition to be a thorn in the back of the government. Well, that's the strategy that's been used for the last 50 years. How's it worked out, right? Might want to try a different strategy, because that's voting for the lesser of evils that's the go-to narrative. That's the go-to strategy. That has been the tactic. And that's why we're in the place we're today. So maybe try something different. That's all I'm saying. Because so far, has it worked out? Nope, not at all. And I'm an evidence-based guy, and the evidence is in, and it doesn't seem to work. Anyways, like I say, let me check this out. This is in regards to the protest as well. I believe it's Spencer Fernando that contributed to the National Citizens Coalition. So let me share the screen here. There we go. Make sure everyone can see that. Yeah, okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe put the writing just a tad bit bigger. So like I say, National Citizens Coalition, Fernando standing up for Canada. Published July 1st, Canada Day on, July 1st, 2020. With Canadian values and history under attack, Canadian patriots must fight back, by Spencer Fernando, exclusive to the National Citizens Coalition. Canada has much to be proud of. We have built a technologically advanced nation. That's the thing. Some have, some haven't. Right? Anyways, we have welcomed people from across the world into the Canadian family. We have, like I said, it all just sounds so collective. So weird. As if I don't know. Anyways, let me continue on. We have often lived up to the inheritance of Western civilization and democracy that we were blessed with, building a country that offers a large degree of freedom that offers a larger degree of freedom than almost any other nation. I mean, yeah, I'm glad he at least put almost any other nation, because I don't know, like I say, it's living right next to the US. It's kind of weird for Canadians to constantly promote how liberty oriented we are, when, like I say, they do it to such a high degree and high regard than compared to us. Is but anyways, We have often lived up to the inheritance of Western civilization. I still don't know why people advocate for democracy either. I just don't understand, other than, like I say, the power of indoctrination, why anyone would ever advocate for majority rule. Well, unless you're part of the people that always and forever recognize that you're in the majority, right? You're the one that's always, whenever there's a groupthink or majority opinion, if you're that kind of person, I suppose to you, it's like, well, yeah, of course, that's the way it should be. But that also means that you're willing to think that majority or mob rule is supreme or higher than the intellect of an individual, right? Not necessarily the case. And Galileo and countless examples through all of history have proven to be quite detrimental in believing that groupthink overrides or overrules objective reason and logic by the individual mind, right? We've seen time again that collectivism or groupthink is actually the detriment, right, to each individual, even those who are part and parcel of the collective. So sacrificing individual rights, freedom, and liberty for the pretense of the collective is actually the exact opposite of what the Enlightenment era figures and the founding fathers, in particular the U.S., espoused, and why the West even had this pretense of freedom of liberty in the first place. Whether it turned out to be true or not, at least the pretense was there. But like I say, you only get from point A to B by at least acknowledging and recognizing that it's the individual, it's the sovereign individual, and not groupthink or the majority of the mob rule. That's how you get liberty, right? But to support or promote democracy is literally to support or promote two wolves. You've seen that meme, right? Two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. Well, I guess it's okay if you're one of the wolves, not so good if you're a sheep or part of the flock, right? Okay. We have fought on the side of freedom and justice in 2 world wars and played a key role in the fight against fascism and communism. Well, we didn't. A bunch of Canadians in the past did. Matter of fact, I wish those Canadians in the past that did fight for those freedoms and justice in 2 world wars, wish they were alive today, because I'm pretty sure they could push back against some of these people who identify as conservatives these days and say, no, you fucks got it all wrong. You got it all wrong, folks. You got it all wrong, right? Matter of fact, a lot of them probably have proverbially rolled over in their graves thinking the kind of people who look like or pretend that they're replacing them and are the staunch advocates of freedom and liberty that these people actually were, right? But no, people in the past did, right? Who fought on the side of freedom and justice in the 2 world wars. You didn't, Spencer, and neither did I. And taking credit for something people did, 70, 80 years ago, once again, that's collectivism once again, which is really weird, like I say, but it's so prevalent today. Like the power, right? The power of the state and that kind of indoctrination. That's how powerful it is. For all those reasons and more, Canadians should feel proud of ourselves for the country we have built. That's once again, you're talking about Canadians in a singularity type, as if all Canadians are the same, right? I mean, Trudeau's considered a Canadian, but yet Spencer Fernando, and I've heard him suggest in past articles and talking about things, is Trudeau's trying to tear down this country, right? Destroy all those freedoms and liberties that Spencer apparently advocates for. So once again, this is why, like I say, this sounds good. It's like the feel-good narrative and bullshit, but it none of this actually gets to the heart or the root of the problem, which is believing in rulers and definitely believing in majority or mob rule in the first place. And no, I'm not proud of the country. We should also feel proud of those who made all of this possible, including our first Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald. If Canada is a great country today, then it couldn't have happened without those who helped create the country in the first place. Yeah, it's them statists that we need to thank, right? While no historical leaders look perfect in the context of the modern world, they must be judged relative to other world leaders. And in that regard, the fathers of Confederation came out far ahead. Well, based on the information and indoctrination that was jammed in your head since you were a kid, right? Lots of people in lots of countries all around the world are told the same kind of bullshit and propaganda, indoctrinated into thinking that their state or their government has done a much better job than the West. I mean, think about the Nordic countries. you rest assured they're told all the time that they're far and vastly superior to most other Western developed nations, right? The Americans are constantly told all the time. Pretty sure you can find countries in the Middle East and Africa that believe they're doing things much more superior and vastly supreme, right? I'm sure Venezuela and the people who are supporters of Maduro or any of the dictators down there, right? I'm sure they all think that, no, our country's the best, man. We do it better than everybody, right? This is how you do it. This is how freedom works. That's what all countries have flags. All countries have this pretense of that they're doing something together, right? And so, like, it's just the story, it's the narrative that you're now people in the West, yeah. The rulers in the past, yeah, they had good narratives, right? They had good propagandists, right? They had good messaging. Right? They had good marketers on their side that could put forth a really good message, just like Mr. Jones, the Jones plantation, right? Yeah, he come up with a great story to explain to the slaves that you're not really slaves after all. No, you're free men now. And this is no longer a plantation. I'm just your employer, and you're free to leave at any time. But hey, if you ever do choose to leave this particular plantation called Canada, well, you might want to watch out because there's all kinds of scarier plantations all around. And they might treat you much worse than Mr. Jones will on this here plantation. This plantation is vastly superior in comparison to the plantations that surround it. So, hey, sit down, shut the hell up, bow to your master, and be very, very thankful that you live on this plantation. That's what that's what nationalists are constantly espousing these days. It is a form of Stockholm syndrome, and it's quite sad and pathetic, especially from full-grown adults living in the age of information, where ignorance is actually a choice. And you don't have to make that choice anymore. You can make the wise choice. Pick up the call. Call now, and I can help you break free from that indoctrination, from that Stockholm syndrome. It's going to cost you some cognitive dissonance and some really uncomfortable moments for the next foreseeable future. But trust me, you'll be much better off on the other side of it, because then you'll actually understand what it means to be free, right? Paid advertising here or something. No pay, no money, no pay. I do it for free. Why don't I look perfect in there? And yet, despite these obvious reasons to feel proud of Canada, the reality is that Canadian patriotism and history is under attack like never before. Well, I'm kind of glad of that, to be honest with you. But this is an attack from within, pushed largely by radical far left academics who teach nothing but hatred for everything Canada stands for, demonize our history, promote communism, give a free pass to China, and seek to purposely divide everyone along race, gender, and tribe. I agree. You just forgot about the right-wingers, right, who promote fascism instead, right? Not a fan of that one either. I'm with you. I'm totally with you in being against this promotion of communism there, for Fernando. But no better fan of fascism as communism. Or socialism, for that matter, which, yeah, a lot of right-wingers in this country. I don't know, I'd like to ask, actually, Fernando, someday, if I ever had a chance. Do you support socialism? Do you support any forms of forced wealth and income redistribution? If you do, well, you're a big old collectivist too, and that get in line with your counterparts, right? Become part of the collective and stop pretending that you're advocating on the side of liberty or libertarians, because you're not. Because you're not. They have indoctrinated many, and the indoctrination continues. Many of those, I'll give them a free pass in China and seek to purposely divide everyone along race, gender, and tribe. Well, the right does that too. Race. I hear a lot of right-wingers bringing up race and stuff, and gender, and tribalism bullshit. So same thing. Like I say, same thing. Just two peas in the same pod. Right? The left, right wing, left wing, right wing, same bird. Right? Matter of fact, bird can't fly with just one. Needs both those wings, right? And both those wings is what keep the state flying high over top of us, shitting down on the peons. Right? Okay. That leads us to claim Canada is currently committing genocide and pushes our elites to think that the brutal Chinese Communist Party is somehow more morally equivalent of her. So once again, just politics. It's the kind of thinking that leads the Chronicle Herald to issue a disgraceful trigger warning about the Canadian flag as if they should be concerned someone would be upset by seeing the flag of our nation. It's the kind of thinking that leads the city of Calgary to have been fined with large protests early in June while issuing a warning that Canada Day events will be shut down. This is just political divide. This is just, like I say, just ignoring the problems of the right and pointing out the problems or issues with the left. Once again, you got to look in your backyard once too. And if it's the kind of thinking that leads the city of Regina and the problems where conservatives won 14 out of 14 seats to talk about the Sir John A. Macdonald statue representing a harmful legacy to members of our community and saying they are reaching out for guidance on responding to harmful legacies. If a statue of John A. Macdonald can be on thin ice, even in a deeply conservative province, that tells us how far the radicals have gone in their infiltration of institutions and their growing control over their narrative. As we watch all this, it's easy to think there's just some temporary. Did I put this back? Yeah. Okay. Just some temporary craziness that will go away. It won't. Nope. And you're helping contributing to continuing that there. Spencer, hate to point that out to you, but hey, I got to do it. It's reality. Sorry. But as long as you play up the left-right game, you're contributing to this bullshit too. But I know the audience that you're trying to appeal to, so continue on. The radicals are seeking to rule by fear, pushing the most extreme agenda while denouncing anyone who disagrees as a racist. That's true. They count on regular, good, patriotic Canadians like us to just hope it all disappears and goes back to normal. While we wait, they push and push and push, seeking to overturn everything and replace it with the woke inquisition of guilt, chaos, and violence. They seek to turn patriotism into a taboo and try to falsely convince people that Canada's history is all bad with no redeeming qualities. Of course, if we lose our history, if our nation is demonized and if patriotism is demolished, then Canada's future will be disastrous. A country that forgets its foundation, forgets its values, and stops defending itself will soon lose that which makes it special, and all those things we are proud of will not endure. Well, I would love to rewrite the story. You can't rewrite it because history is history, but I'm not proud of the history of Canada, really. What the fuck? Come on, Canada. If you're American, I totally get that because you were like, fuck the status. Like literally, I love that meme passed around. Where was that? I shared it. Oh, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I think it was on my Facebook page. Yeah. But yeah, the founding fathers of Canada were a bunch of statists that didn't want to be independent or sovereign from their political authority, their rulers across the pond in Great Britain or England. They still wanted to cozy up and have a cozy relationship with their political authorities or masters, right? It was the American fathers, the founding fathers of America, who said, fuck you, gave a big old big fingers to any authority, right? And said, no. And the police, the enforcers of the king, right? That's the part where I'm trying to get at here. Wait till you see this. I thought this was a great meme. Memes are so great because they use visual cues. And even if you read it, like verbal cues to just articulate a message that, like, even myself, even if I sat here and talked about it, for 5 or 10 minutes, that meme can do such a great job. Oh, let me just go to my photos here. But yeah. If Canada had, like I say, the same legacy or history as the U.S., then yeah, I would definitely be more proud of Canadian heritage and history. But it doesn't. I can't change that. I can't prevent reality from being reality. Of course, I wish that it was different, but it's not. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell to tell you. It's just not. Shoot, I don't see. I'm not seeing that. Okay, let me see if I can find it because I must have shared it on one of my social media pages, right? Sure, I must have. Where was that? Where, oh, where, oh, where, oh, where? Still going. Might not even be able to find that, actually. Huh. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Or did I have to go back even further? So weird. So weird. I'm hell bent and determined. Let me try this then. Okay, let's see if I can find it on here. No. Well, anyways. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to be able to find it after all. All right, I give up. Yeah, that's a bummer. That is a serious bummer. I thought for sure I'd be able to find that. Guess not. Guess not. But anyways, like I say, so it was basically just that's a fucking bummer though. It's a goddamn bummer. It was basically, like I say, showing like the founding fathers, and yeah, what'd they do, right? The enforcers, the police, right, or the military, the enforcers of the England state. Yeah, it was the U.S. founding fathers that were against the police, the state, and sought out their freedoms and liberties and fought against them, right? Whereas Canadians are like, oh, come on, no, we need you to rule over us, right? And it's just, yeah, the history of Canada is not quite the same. And like, I know Canadians love to have that sense of pride in it. And there's some things, like I say, there's some things in the history, like some ideas that happened since the founding of Canada and all that stuff that I suppose I could agree with. But most of the things that Canada, the things that you respect and admire aren't Canadian ideas. They're Enlightenment era values and ideas, right? And Canada didn't even properly adopt them. So really what you should be saying is if you're a promoter of individual rights, freedom, and liberty, is you're an advocate for Enlightenment era ideas. But actually, like I say, the Canadian founding fathers were not nearly as good. They were like milk toast, kind of like the politicians of Canada today, very much milk toast in terms of those are even pretending to be advocates of freedom or liberty. So like I say, to me, it's like, it's the same as like, okay, the Toronto Maple Leafs, even when I lived in Toronto, it's like being blindly loyal to the Toronto Maple Leafs when, let's say, the Boston Bruins have won the cup for, let's say, 5 years in a row. It's like, at some point in time, you should like, all right, I admit the Leafs suck, and the Bruins seem to be the ones that have done something right. Right? That's how you learn. But if you keep supporting or advocating for the losers, right, or those who don't even actually genuinely understand what freedom or liberty entails or what it means, well, like I say, well, then you're never going to know what it means. If the people that you want to learn about freedom and liberty, the people that you look for to teach you about that, don't even understand it properly themselves, well, they're not going to give you the proper information now, are they? Whereas I will, right? And I don't have to play any nationalist card. I don't have to be waving a fucking flag. I don't have to play any games of statism. I could just tell you the ideas to be objectively true and give you the moral underpinnings for what I stand before and what I support, and just go from there, right? Anyways, yeah. Okay, so let's get back to the article here. Because the people, like the right-wingers today, especially the secessionists, if you're an Alberta secessionist and you want to, vacate the state, you don't want to be part of Canada, well, what about when the Canadian jackboots say, no, you can't leave, right? Well, are you still going to be licking them then, right? Are you still going to be praising the thin blue line then? All blue lives matter, right? While they're, to me, it's, like I say, it's just so weird. Just so weird. Like I say, for libertarians in this country, we truly have no tribe. Well, kind of, but it's not really much of a tribe, just a loose-knit bunch of individuals who actually genuinely understand what freedom and liberty entails. And we're trying our best to help educate and inform our fellow Canadians. But like I say, cognitive dissonance and Stockholm syndrome rules the day. So it's going to be, we're going to be a little while longer. Intellectual evolution, yeah, it's been put on hold. We still got a lot of work to do here in Canada, right? Hopefully we have time. Maybe not. Those of us who are proud of Canada, those of us who are patriots, must fight that. We need to stand against the attempt to remove statues of our historic leaders. Well, I definitely agree that you shouldn't try to tear down, statues of historical leaders, even if they were bad people, right? It's like, that's how you learn history. And those statues, they're not going to hurt you. Right? Show me where the statue touched you. Right? What the fuck? Anyways, we need to push back online and in person when we see people trying to divide Canada and demean our history with Marxist rhetoric. I agree. But then we also got to push back against people who are trying to promote statism, the conservative brand of statism or fascism. Right? Got to kind of do that too, right? We must draw attention to the fact that all these groups pushing radical ideas don't represent Canadian values, but in fact represent the same kind of radical left extremism that has led to so much destruction and violence around them. But that's where you're wrong there. Actually, the Canadian values that you speak of, that's to suggest that you're defining the Canadian values, which, hey, Spencer, you don't get to do it. The Canadian people, the majority of the mob, right? This is a democracy. Capiche? Right? In a democracy, the majority of the mob rules and gets to determine the culture. And in Canada, the majority, the mob, right, or the plurality, if you want terms in terms of the political outcome in the 2019 election, is the mob. Those Canadians you're talking about, their Canadian values are very much all about radical leftism and socialism and forced wealth and income redistribution and the social control over people that they perceive as their ideological opponents. That is Canadian values these days. So as much as you might want to pretend and wish otherwise, the most or the bulk of your Canadian peers are the ones that say, no, that is the culture they want. And that is the culture that they've created. And that is the culture that exists. Like it or not, that's reality. Sorry, like I say, I know these are uncomfortable truths, but you're going to get them from me anyways, right? We must draw attention to the fact that all these groups, okay. And we must be confident enough to recognize that we have every right to be proud of Canada and to be Canadian patriots. I don't know. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'd like to get him to expand upon and articulate, what do you mean? to be proud of Canada, right? What? First of all, Canada is just a geographical landmass that's used to describe like a geographical portion of the globe, right? Of the earth. Like if you look at a map or an atlas, you'll see that's what Canada is. But what the hell could it possibly mean that to be proud of Canada? Once again, that's the power. But like I say, this is the way people talk. This is just the way people talk without thinking properly about what any of this stuff means. On Canada Day, we must recognize that an ideological battle is underway and rededicate ourselves to stopping the subversion of our nation. We must ensure that all we have built is not destroyed by those who hate our country. Spencer Fernando is one of the most popular and prolific political voices in Canada. He is a campaign fellow for the National Citizens Coalition. Yep. Oh, yeah. Definitely way more popular. Like I say, status, much more popular than libertarians these days. Way more. And I mean, of course, it's to be expected, right? Duh. Anyways, so I'll place a link to that. And the other one, yeah, I'll place a link to that one as well. So let me get back into the chat, see what folks are saying. Okay, where are we at here? Okay, we got, I don't show a date, but it was in the Moncton paper. Okay, now we're back down to where we were. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see how that works out. I mean, it's at least something, right? So that's probably cool. But well, we'll see how it works out. Because like I say, everything's done. Even the judiciary, it's all political now. So right on, Merlin Wheelader. I'm going to have to watch this later. I'm in Alberta visiting my family. Oh, right on, cool. Right on, Wendy. No worries. Yes, it does. The NAP is referring to physical violence. Yes, physical violence. Exactly. Yeah, it makes sense. Like I say, the only official number that I've ever seen actually reported, right, and it came from Statistics Canada, and Neil McDonald was quoting it in a CBC article, like I say, because, I pay attention. I look for this stuff all the time, but it was 4.1 million. Now, I extrapolated that data and tried to expand that to figure out to encompass what that would be as a representation of the actually adult age population. Because that's the thing, when you think about it, you have to take out anyone that's not an adult, like, so kids, right? Because yeah, when you're talking about working for government, so you got to take like people that are at least 16 and under, I would say, right? Maybe even 18, but let's just go with the 16 and under who aren't or can't be or too young to be direct or actively employed by the government. So if you take that portion of the population out, that's a pretty substantial portion. Then if you take, like I say, all the people who are post-retirement age, right? Most of those people are too old to be working for government in some capacity. So most of those people, especially the ones that are all retired, so take that portion of the population out. It worked out to be, if I remember correctly, what was it, about just under 1 in 5 Canadians that actually worked for government. If you just, like I say, if you just do the direct employment, the 4.1 million Canadians who are directly employed in some capacity by the local, provincial, or federal government, 4.1 million in Canada. And that was, like I say, that's been a couple of years now since that number came out. So it's definitely going to be, well, it's definitely gradually or even creeped up much quicker than we would be normally suspect, right? Because the government's been growing the whole time. The government has never shrank. It only and always continues to grow, which is why eventually it's going to break down entirely. And that's when the real pain starts to happen, because eventually you run out of other people's money, right, to spend. Anyways, but so yeah, if you take that 4.1 million, even if that represents 1 in 5, as you're suggesting, well, cops, doctors, nurses, teachers, but see, those are people who are, but that would be included in the 4.1 million. But like I say, but then you have all the ones who are subsidized or indirectly supported by big government, right? And at this point in time, yeah, I would definitely say if you encompass, especially the corporations, because it's not just the individuals, but think about how many corporations are directly or indirectly subsidized in some way or some capacity by way of forced wealth and income redistribution through the state, through government. The dairy industry, I mean, well, like I said, like I already alluded to, I mean, find an industry in Canada that isn't micromanaged, dictated, controlled, or subsidized in some way in Canada. Like, I'll show you that very few, right? Most areas of our economy, like I say, have a tremendous amount of government forced wealth and income redistribution basically baked into the cake of how it's all set up. So yeah, I have no doubt that probably 1 in 2 or half of the Canadian population is either directly or indirectly subsidized or benefit in some way economically as a consequence of big government. So like I say, when you have that many people that rely on big government, good luck trying to shrink it. I see Brent Alderson is in the chat here. Slander and name calling is all good though. Slander and name calling is all good. Hey, I can bring you into the chat now if you want there, Brent. Seems how you want to. Although actually, I'd have to go back and watch what we were even conversating about actually at the time. We need to prioritize the issues we deal with. Hold on. We need to prioritize the issues we deal with. Bennett Trudeau is wasting $100 billion per month. People don't want to. Actually, you know what? When it comes to that Brent guy, that's the thing. We were going to, I had a discussion. I'd have to go back and, like I say, watch the video. But for those of you, if you just want to fucking argue with me, I would just suggest that a good idea is we're not going to, if you're a statist and I'm not, we're just not going to ever agree. And whatever it is, what it is, but I'm not changing who the fuck I am. And I'm not going to, cowtail to you. I've never have done that for anybody on the planet. I sure shit ain't going to start today. So I would just suggest there, Brent, that, perhaps you should just go find yourself some status to align with and just do that and leave people like myself to do our thing. Right. Because like I say, people like you just distract from the actual big conversations and the big ideas. And I don't know if you're just looking for attention or if you're just the latest dipshit, because there's been a never-ending string of dipshits that seem to want to come, pretend they want to be friendly to libertarians, and then just play this fucking game of divisiveness. And to tell you the truth, I am quite sick of it, to be honest with you. So, like I say, here's the best idea that I can offer to you and to anyone else actually that's in the same boat. If you don't care about liberty, if you're not a libertarian, fucking don't follow a libertarian page. If you're a statist, do your statist thing and support whatever tribe or team that you do. And just like I say, take your place with the rest of the statists, because we're just not going to, and unless you want to be intellectually inquisitive or curious and learn about ideas, this isn't this isn't all about drama, right? I get people love their drama. Then just go find something. There's all kinds of people on the internet that you can find to argue with if you just want to stir up drama, division, or argue for the sake of arguing. I would just say find those people and have right the hell at it. Do your thing. Because I'm, like I say, like I've said before, I'm an ideas kind of guy. And if you're not here to discuss ideas and you just want to argue over shit or stuff or advocate for your brand of statism, then do it. Matter of fact, start your own YouTube channel, right? Go. We're all, right? We all have the option and the ability to go set up or YouTube or BitChute. Go make yourself a username and a password. Set yourself up a little streaming setup of some kind and do your thing. Advocate for your brand of statism as well. That's what freedom, that's what liberty is, right? And I'm going to do my thing, you do your thing. But yeah, if you're not in line with advocating for liberty and you just want to soil it or create some gray area, then that's not what I'm all about. I'm all about clearing that kind of a fog, not introducing it into people's minds. So, like I say, I have already accepted. Think about it. There's a reason why my views is not just because of other people and external factors. I'm even more than willing. I've even said this many times myself. I am willing to, even if it gets down to I only have 5 people, just like Tim Mullen. I'd rather be in Tim Mullen's position right now with only 5 people watching my fucking videos, but people that actually genuinely care about liberty and are fellow travelers that want to go on that journey with me, right? And develop their intellect properly so they're thinking about issues social and economically critically. But if, like I say, if you just want to play politics, I don't fucking give a shit about politics. I really don't give a shit. Politics is so fucking lame. It's just people, and especially when you're talking about, it's just people saying that I want this, but I want to use force or violence to impose my will, mandate, and needs on another. Well, okay, then just go, like I said, just go sit around and argue with other people and who advocates for their own particular brand of statism and see which one of you all win. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm just not interested in that kind of nonsense. And that's why even in my last stream when I said I'm going to be transitioning, unfortunately, like I say, it's because I'm on the big platforms and I don't know, they're actively definitely not just trying to suppress my shit, but I swear to God, just constantly trying to send fucking dipshits like this to make it so that I don't even want to do videos anymore because I can say over a decade of dealing with fucking dipshits and fucking morons that constantly want to, be like pigeons and go around shitting on your chessboard all the time. Like I say, because I always look to what's beneficial, what works and what doesn't. Arguing with status hasn't worked for me at all. Properly trying to advocate for, principles and the ideas in regards to the philosophy of liberty and what it means to be free. Those things work. And it does work for people who, like I say, want to voluntarily adopt those ideas and learn about these things or start thinking critically about issues. But arguing with status, I've realized is a complete and absolute waste of time. So I'm not going to do it anymore. If you want to argue, find someone else to do it. And good luck with all that. Like I say, have fun with it. I wish everyone to, do your thing. Do your thing. Oh. Come on, man. I would burn down the government site if I had a chance to pretend that I'm a statist. I'm a statist. Well, you keep advocating for the government, though, Gato. I don't know what to tell you, man. When you advocate for governments, I don't know what you got to learn what a status is, man. Like you're advocating for government. I don't know. Like I say, I don't know. Like I say, you can't, I can't have what it is libertarians can't have a good conversation with people that still have too much of that statism in their head because we end up talking past each other. All I would suggest is some point in time, you'll come to realize it. And when you get to that point, then we'll be, but once again, no hatred towards you. You do your thing, but you just, I don't know. Anyways. What's going on, Rika? Oh, I'm already at 1:41. Yeah, okay. I'm probably going to tie this up soon. So, thank you. You have a great afternoon as well, CC. Horse kick water. I just watched the one horse kick the water. What's cool? Right on. Yeah, he's probably a little thirsty. Lest we forget definition of sanity, repeating, doing the same thing over. Yeah, exactly. And that's what the left-right paradigm is. It's constantly. That the World War II soldiers were fighting for globalism and had no idea. Soldiers are trained to not think for themselves. Yeah, no kidding. The World War II war vets realized they fought on the wrong side a long time ago. Yeah. Anyways. We got an argument with Black Chick Defend Democracy saying, I just think we should do what's best for most people. I told her slavery is pretty convenient. Exactly. Exactly. So true. That's what I mean. These people, that's what I mean. And which is why, like I say, it's so hard when you're the person that's trying to teach people objective reasoning, logic, and critical thinking skills. And every time you do, they just want to run to their political perspective corners and fucking, like I say, just shit on the fucking chessboard entirely. It's like, eventually it's like, okay, that's it. I'm not putting the chessboard out for you fucks anymore. Create your own chessboard and have your fun. I'm just, like I say, that's why I'm, like I say, slowly transitioning more and more to some of these alternative platforms such as ThinkSpot and Locals, because that's where an audience is much more actively engaged. And like I said, even people on the left, but at least they want to have conversation. At least they want to actively engage in dialogue and talk about the ideas, not just argue over my government. Like that's, to me, I like I say, That's a horse. That's a dead horse that's been beaten so bad and severely. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I really am. Something like the propaganda message of libertarians. See, this is exactly what I mean, which is why, like, I just, hey, whatever, man. Like I say, if you're willing to suggest that the message of libertarian, which is self-ownership, property rights, and the non-aggression principle is propaganda, then like I say, you can't, some people you can't help. Some people you just can't help. And Brent, he's nowhere near there. You know, maybe he will get to that point. Maybe he'll get up to speed. You know, that's the thing. And I even recognize too, a lot of people that start to learn a little bit of liberty after their entire life being indoctrinated into the cult of statism, they get a little bit of information and they think that they're going to challenge the people of like literally fucking decades of experience and knowledge in regards to these concepts and these ideas and principles. Well, right on. Good for you. I guess I'm kind of proud of you for trying to punch above your weight and all, but you know, I'm just also going to say that you obviously have no firm grasp or understanding of what the philosophy of liberty even entails. So get to that point first. At least learn the philosophy of liberty, and there's a tremendous amount of information at your disposal here in the information age. Even if you don't want to listen to a word I say, just type in the word libertarian. Go down whatever rabbit hole you want to learn about what it actually means, what it actually entails. And at some point in time, you come back to me once you've learned what it is. And then maybe at that point in time, we might be able to have an actual proper discussion. Although at this point, you're, like I say, you're just not there, man. You're just not there. I will give you liberty without ever explaining what liberty means to them. I will give you liberty without ever explaining what with liberty. It's really baked right in to the core principles: self-ownership, property rights, and non-aggression principles. So once again, when people are that willing to misrepresent something that's quite simple, you know, if you think about it, or even, you know, give it some time and thought and critically think about it, then, like I say, if someone's at that point, they're either trolling, either Brent's a troll, or just, like I say, an ignorant noob that's, like I say, just trying to punch way above his weight. And rather than sit back and listen, right? Because that's the thing. When you're not as knowledgeable as you think, that's usually a good time to sit down, shut up, and listen to someone that's going to help educate and inform you. But like I say, when people are like, rather than be educated, informed, they're like, no, I want to pretend that I know more than you. Well, then, like I said, you go right and do that. And maybe you can garner a big old audience of people that will agree with you. Have fun with all that. Have fun with it all. Yeah, sorry about that, Jake. Yeah, I know. How disappointing that I don't know something about this Norman Traversely guy, because I should know everything about everybody, right? He was the main reason for the Ottawa. Yeah, I don't really give a shit, to be honest with you, because like I say, I'm not a statist, man. Not a statist. But, and feel free, like I say, any of you people are all disappointed, and I expect there's going to be a few more people going to be disappointed too. And feel free to withdraw your support. Don't really give a shit. If you're disappointed, if you're butt hurt, whatever, don't really care. Government is slavery. Yeah. But lots of advocates for slavery. And rather than, you know, listen to the people who are talking about learn to be free, they'd rather just, like I say, advocate for your brand of statism. Then just do it. Then and support status. I don't know. I love the wake up call. You're great. Gazera on your, who's Jazera on your hit list? Sled fast. I don't even know what that means. Sorry. So which is a small government slavery? I'm getting mixed messages. Hence what most people are nervous about libertarian. No clear message. No clear message. If you don't think libertarians have a clear message, then you just haven't been paying attention. What it is you're listening to people who pretend they know what it's the ideas, man. Just like a dictionary. Here's let me just tell you something. Stop listening to people's rhetoric that pretend they know what libertarian is, right? That's like me saying, I understand math, but I keep telling you 2 + 2 is 5. At some point in time, you got to realize that, oh, that person doesn't understand math. Anyone can say that they're a mathematician, but if they're telling you that 2 + 2 is 5, they're not a fucking mathematician, all right? Just like if they're telling you they're a libertarian and they think that there's such thing as limited government, small government, and they're being honest and forthright with you, well, then they're not being honest or articulate either. They're trying to play the status game, right? And that's what's going to happen. There are very few people on this planet who's going to be willing or who are in a position where they can tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth without fear, because someone might take away my income or I don't know, whatever, right? Or cause some kind of social harm on me, whatever. I am one of very, 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 very few people. I am a tiny, tiny minority of people who are willing to tell you the absolute and honest truth. Just because other people call themselves libertarians, but they aren't willing to tell you the truth, or maybe they're just not as competent in learning about the philosophy of liberty. Because that's the other thing. I could also say, I'm a drag racer, right? Which I am. And when you go to the track, you'll see not just me, but maybe 1,000 other people that'll show up that weekend who are also people who claim to be drag racers. But as you'll recognize when you see, or if you go, not just the lights at the end of the quarter mile, but even if you go and look at each person's time slip, you'll see that not everyone is as competent at winning races or being knowledgeable enough to do what it requires to win a race, right? That's the problem. That's the problem with collectivism or groupthink or any kind of identity that doesn't acknowledge the individual mind, right? Or concepts in terms of ideas or principles when you're talking about liberty. Forget about what people are saying, other people are saying. If they're telling you, like I say, if they're telling you 2 + 2 is 5, well, they don't understand the philosophy of liberty. Go by what the actual philosophical core principles of libertarianism entails, and then just, like I say, extrapolate that yourself. Just like with math, I don't have to explain to you that 2 + 3 is 5 and 2 + 5 is 7. I can just show you how to do math and then give you all kinds of different formulations. I might even be able to give you a different one. Let's say 8 + 3. But once I've taught you how to math, once I've taught you the formula and how you add, right, 2 numbers together, then you'll be able to figure that stuff out all on your own because you've learned the formula. You've learned the basic formula, just like with libertarianism. Once you learn the basic principles and the core values of what libertarian is, it's easy to extrapolate from there and be more consistent in not just your knowledge, but what government entails or whether it's legitimate or not. So, like I say, some people just lack the competence and the ability or the skills to figure out these concepts properly. So, don't you math? Don't you libertarian? Apparently not. A lot of people don't, or not right, not correct. Right? Anyways, like I say, what do you suppose you would do with that 40%? I don't know what the 44% is. Oh, here we go. Brent, laws are needed for the 40% of the world's population who are stupid. What? Anyways, yeah, I'm getting out of here. Getting out of here. It's degrading. The degradation is kicking in. How would a libertarian who wants to be left alone want liberty imposed? A world against? That's not libertarian. Once again, people can identify whatever the hell they want, but doesn't mean they are. Like I say, anyways, you would think one time would be enough for people to understand that, but apparently not. And I'm not about to waste my time repeating the same thing over and over again. If you can't figure the concepts out, then like I say, maybe you need to go back to kindergarten. There should be actually, you know what? There should be a kindergartner level learning curve for some people, I guess, in terms of what liberty entails, because some people it's just way, way above their pay grade or what they can currently understand. All right. Well, anyways, folks, yeah, it's 1:53. So I'm going to tie this stream up. Thanks for everyone that showed up to it. Like I said, just wanted to cover a little bit of the protest, but in reality, not so much of the rest of it, because I don't really care too much for the status and advocating for what they are supporting. But I was definitely nice to see that Tim Mullen was there, and he, like I say, gave the best message, way, way better. Yeah, I listened to Maxine's. Tim Mullen did a much better job of articulating what freedom and liberty entails. And like I say, not only does he do a much better job of articulating it, but he actually stands firm behind his convictions and actually knows it properly, what liberty and what libertarianism truly entails. So thanks, Tim, for doing that. And like I say, thanks for all you folks that joined up the stream, and I'll see you probably in the next one. And like I say, it definitely won't be happening quite as regular as used to, because yeah, it's starting to get a little old. Probably going to have to wait, hold things out, reduce my activity, and hope that maybe someday Canadians will finally come around. But I'll be, for the most part, paying attention to the American counterparts and see, because they're the ones that are leading by example at this point in time, in terms of standing up and fighting for their freedoms and liberty, or at least a substantial portion of that population. So hopefully they'll do a much better job, and maybe that will rub off on Canada, and Canadians will get out from underneath of being a status light and start being truly staunch advocates of liberty. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.